Good evening. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Wednesday, the 27th of May. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at ctmthebiggerpicture.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right, I'm doing this webinar on Wednesday evening rather than on Wednesday morning, but of course we had a holiday this week. So on that, the midweek really is on Wednesday night, so that's why I'm doing it now. Just a couple of minutes about what we've been seeing the last few days. Obviously, last Tuesday was apparently when the new attack on Iran was scheduled, and then that was delayed, and then we've moved into talks. Those talks have been confusing to say the least. Apparently, it was almost negotiated, and the Iranians seem to think that a deal was almost negotiated. And then the details were leaked on Saturday. There was a lot of pushback from it, from Republican hawks and people basically, well, everyone who thought that the Americans were winning and basically the Americans would be accepting the Iranian surrender. But of course, that wasn't what was happening. As far as the Iranians are concerned, they won. And they got a reasonable cause to think that, and basically the agreement reflected that. So there was an attack on Monday night. I think it might have been Sunday night, but I think it was Monday night, where 3 towns in Iran were bombed, and then tonight another one. One of those has been bombed again. All of this in self-defense, apparently. However that works, but I think, in practical terms, it's hard to see how there's much of a ceasefire. One of the Iranian red lines, which they had gone over and over again, also is that this ceasefire, the extension of 2 months, which this memorandum of understanding would need to cover Hezbollah as well. And the Iranians seem to be pushing ahead and have started a major offensive in Lebanon, which obviously would violate that ceasefire as well. So the question is there actually any kind of a ceasefire here? I'm thinking in practical terms, no. The US seems to be taking the view that it's making attacks, and that doesn't, as far as that's concerned, it doesn't mean the ceasefire's over. But I think from the Iranians' point of view, they're probably going to take another view. And really, if the fact is the shooting war is continuing, a bit like the ceasefire in Gaza, 600 people killed this week during the ceasefire. When that's the case, there actually isn't really a ceasefire. So I don't think there really is a ceasefire. I'm skeptical as to whether negotiations are, in practical terms, likely to continue under these circumstances. I think Trump might have been close to a deal, but he's now not. He's now basically saying, I demand this and I demand that. So he's back to what he was before. He seems more about saving face than ending the war, and if that's the case, then the war is likely to continue. And really, the sooner the better. So anyway, on the news tonight, we've seen some decline here, and we've seen quite a spike in oil. So I'm wondering if the ceasefire is in effect actually over. We shall see. I did get a couple of buy signals in RTH today on oil, and so far those have been delivering. So we shall see. All right, so looking at equities, we have broken up, we made a new high, and we've got a nice looking double top on NQ. We've broken up, made a new high. It doesn't really look like a double top here, but this could be a part-formed head and shoulders. RTY, lovely double top, very nice. 60-minute sell signal is fixed, and that's actually taken the opportunity to make the possible nearness target tonight on these latest attacks by the US. In terms of YM, has gone higher. Doesn't look like a double top here anymore, but I'll be watching out. We've got a couple of options, obviously, for head and shoulder patterns. On DAX, we've got a nice looking double top. ESTX, not so much, but could be a part-formed head and shoulders. And Nikkei, not really a double top either, probably a part-formed head and shoulders. In terms of if we are going back onto war, then I'm leaning towards the downside on equities, and regardless of that, and I've been reading a lot of stuff on this, and honestly I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen oil spiking higher already. There's been a lot of reserves released, and there's been a fair amount of moving around of what is available, but the fact is even on the most optimistic views, the store of oil available to the world has been dropping basically by at least 6 million barrels per day, and that is the level at which we've been losing stocks. In that case, it seems rather unlikely that we're not going to reach a critical point where basically we're at minimum possible stocks within the next couple of weeks. If that's the case, then we're going to see a spike up. If that isn't the case, then maybe we won't. And if we are going to see a big move on equities down, then it probably needs that oil spike up. I mean, there are all sorts of other problems, but nothing that would be giving us a significant high in the near future. I'm watching, but I am wondering whether we're going to see that high without seeing that spike on oil. And if that spike doesn't arrive for a couple of weeks, it may well be that we're just going to be waiting a couple of weeks. But looking at where we are right now in terms of SPX, we are obviously, and actually I think the best view is probably, here we are. So this is actually the view from the late 2022 low, and as you can see, it's nice. We have reached the trend line here. We're retesting it here. We've not broken over the trend line yet. Could we break over the trend line? Yes, there's always a possibility of doing a bearish overthrow, but honestly, it could fail right here. And if talks are being abandoned, it might fail right here. We've still got the RSI 5 sell signal fixed on the daily. We've now got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. On ES, exactly the same on the signals. We've also got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing. Pretty decent looking double top here. On the hourly chart, that's the daily chart. On the hourly chart, not a lot extra to see. There's no expanding pattern here because we've only just made a marginal new high. And on the RSI 14 sell signals that I was talking about on Monday, all of those failed, as I was wondering if they would on Tuesday morning. All right, looking at the keys, again, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed there. Here we've got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. This is a trend line I drew and was wondering whether we would reach it, and here we are, pretty much reaching it. So I think I need to redraw that slightly. I'm going to be doing, I need to rescale all these at the weekend. So just because as time passes, obviously these things move. We haven't quite reached that target, I don't think, but we're pretty damn close. So I am wondering if we're done to the upside. If we have a look on the slightly bigger picture chart on NDX, we are overthrowing this resistance slightly. Obviously, this is a log scale chart, but in all honesty, in the this move, I mean, coming up from 22, NASDAQ was at 10,500, and now it's almost triple that. This kind of move, you kind of need a log scale chart. So this is the chart, the main chart that I'm watching here, and we are at resistance. So we shall see how that goes. In terms of the hourly chart, tiny bit of negative divergence, but not a lot. And this is now looking, this could be an asymmetric double top, but it would be more likely to be possible head and shoulders. So I'll be watching that as and when we top out and start coming back down. Looking at Dow, obviously we made a higher high. This is the resistance trend line that I was using. You can see it best on the weekly chart. This is actually from the 2020 low. The pattern isn't from the 2022 low. So this is looking pretty nice, and this is a lovely trend line, and this is us going back up and retesting the trend line, and this is still on this scale a perfectly acceptable double top, but this is a double top that we've been forming over the last year or so. There are two double tops here. Looking at Dia, this first double top, which is the big one, is still a double top. This one here is no longer a double top, but we did go and make the new all-time high that I'd be looking for and finished off that unfinished business. So I'm pretty happy about that. We've still got a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed. If we didn't already have one, I think we'd have another one brewing here, but there's nothing happening on the RSI 14. Looking at the hourly chart, I think we've got some negative divergence here, but ideally it would just go a squeak higher to make the RSI set up prettier. And do we have, no, this was not a retest of that high. Yeah, so we don't have any, we don't have an hourly sell signal brewing here, and we don't have anything on the 15-minute. We've still got an old RSI 14 sell signal. This was the one from the start of the week, and as Dia has been the weakest this week, that hasn't failed yet. All right, let's have a look at IWM. Okay, IWM. On the daily chart, we have reached, hang on one second. Right, we are reaching resistance and we are slightly over it. Sorry, if I just rescale this a little, bear with me a moment. I'll do this properly at the weekend. All right, okay, that gives us the scale and the pattern here. This is actually a very nice pattern. And we have, hang on one second, let me draw that. There we are. As you can see, that's pretty damn nice. And we're at resistance here. I'd love to see a fell here. We've got a nice looking overall double top here. In terms of the short-term pattern, and this is the one obviously from the late, well, this is the one that's formed really from the late March low for that move. In terms of that pattern, this is still a double top actually, but it'd go a bit higher and we might start losing that. We've got a bit of negative divergence here. 15-minute, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal, which has already fixed. All right, great. Looking at DAX, I was wondering about a retest of the high. We haven't seen that yet. I'd quite like to see that, but I don't think it's strictly required. But it would look neater if it did. Nikkei has already retested the all-time high and has gone beyond my trend line. I might need to redraw that, which is a shame because that was actually a pretty nice one. But if I was redrawing it, yeah, I've still got a couple of options. We'll wait to see where this lands. I'll draw the trend line and then we will see. All right, great. Let's have a look at currencies. Now, in the event that we start seeing trouble break out again, then of course I would be expecting to see the dollar go up. I've been talking about this being a bullish consolidation, and at the moment we've found our way back to the high of this consolidation. If we start seeing serious trouble breaking out again, and I think there's a 6 possibility we are about to see that, then we're likely to see this spike up, and the next obvious target would be the retest of this high here in about the 155 area. Looking at the other currencies, not a lot to see on the EUR/USD chart. I'm watching this level here. That's the level at which this IHS has failed, and we get a level back at the bottom. If we are about to see the dollar fail, then that would be a reasonable thing to expect. GBP/USD. We've already got a double top which is broken down, didn't quite make target here, and I'm thinking we're going to go back, retest this low, and probably make that target. In terms of USD/JPY, I would expect to move up to, well, really a retest of this high. I would note the last couple of times we've reached this level, the government has intervened to take the yen down again. So this is actually the dollar versus yen, or maybe to strengthen it or whatever. It's but the government has intervened to move this down, so we may see that again. If they don't do that, I'd really love to see this retest 162. USD CAD, we're pretty much reaching the IHS target now. This has actually been quietly moving up. That's as far as the pattern goes. So I don't have any targets beyond that. Australian dollar, very possible head and shoulders forming here, and we could see that break down. And here on NZ, we've got a head and shoulders too, and that's rather nice, and that may well break down too. I'm thinking we may be about to see equities turn down, dollar turn up, oil turn back up. I think oil may already have turned back up. We shall see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. And right, looking at the US dollar chart, we've actually got an RSI 5 sell signal which is fixed. If we're going to see it break up, then that's probably going to fail. And the next obvious target would be a retest of this high here in the 164 area. In terms of the euro, not seeing a lot. Bigger picture, of course, I am still wondering whether we're going to make this double top, break up from this bull flag, and make the target at 114.79 to make probably the second high of a double top. I'm still skeptical about reaching it, but we've got a nice looking double bottom which is trying to break up, that you can see on this chart here. Make a higher high of a 164 and sustain trade up there, and I think chances are on the way to that target. That only gets us halfway to the retest, but it is an important halfway. So once we do that, then I'd be looking for another pattern to take us higher. In terms of the USD chart, obviously we've got a matching bear flag there. We've got a matching bear flag on GBP/USD. It's really all about the dollar here and what the dollar's going to do. So we shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at bonds. Bonds, we've been seeing a bit of a rally as we have been going through this almost sitcom of negotiation, because really it just makes very little sense. So announcements here, announcements there, and it's just, well, this administration. So anyway. ZB has seen a bit of a rally here, but I'm thinking it might be about to break that down. This kind of looks like a bear flag, and may well be a bear flag. In terms of ZN, this kind of looks like a bear flag too. Hasn't broken down yet, but we had a buy signal that's made target, and this may be. If we're about to see a turn here, oil go back up, equities go back down, then, well, that's what I'd be looking for. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts and TYX. Okay, TYX, we actually had a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed. More or less, I'd written it off by the time we got up to 51.97, but obviously I did so too soon. That has actually made target today. I think that was pretty much the only one. In terms of TNX and TYX, obviously we've got these big inverted head and shoulder patterns, and TYX is actually starting to break up, but TNX has not made that target yet. It will need to get back to the retest of this high here of 49.97, although it's obviously making good progress in recent weeks. In terms of the daily chart here, we didn't have one. We got a triangle which is trying to break up towards the target and a retest of 49.97. In terms of TYX, we had a triangle there too, but it was an ascending triangle. And really, I'd be roughly thinking in terms of, well, it's harder to call a target on these, but if I was to calculate it the way that Bill Kowski would calculate it, then I'd be looking probably for a target in about the 58 area. In terms of TNX on the daily chart, we didn't have any divergence there. No divergence on the hourly chart, and I am wondering about a possible move down to test this rising support in the 44 area. But on TLT, we get more of an indicator. FVX, obviously, we've got a triangle here too, starting to break up. Target would be in the 49.88 area. This is the 5-year yield. TLT, we also have a triangle, and we broke down and we tested the support, and we are finding support there so far. If we turn back down, next move I'd be looking for would be a breakdown from that. Do we have any indication of that? Well, the latest thing we've got is we've actually got an RSI 5 sell signal which has fixed, which is likely to be at least a pullback on bonds, but it might be a full reversal back into a retest of the low. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at oil. Now, oil, one thing I've been watching with the charts, because actually it's really not a bad indicator, is the poly market. This is the Strait of Hormuz traffic returns to normal by the end of June. Now, end of last week, before we were told that the attack was about to happen, I think this was up in about the, I don't know, I think it might have been the 20s, but then we had the attack was going to happen, and then the deal was being done, and then we were up to about 59%, and since then, of course, we've had a series of problems with the deal being done, and it's pretty obvious the deal isn't done. So it's got back down to 35%, so we haven't actually lost all of the ground we've had during the negotiation, but we've lost most of it. And it might be that we're about to lose the rest. So optimism isn't particularly high. So how are we looking on the daily chart? Well, we don't have any positive divergence, so I was kind of hoping to get some daily buy signals growing here, but I think we got some hourly ones, and I think that may be that's all we're going to get. In terms of the WTIC chart, no current positive divergence, but obviously we got below. We went pretty low on the line here. This all still looks like bullish consolidation to me. In terms of heating oil, we got down below the 30 level again. No current positive divergence. Some of these RSI 14 sell signals getting close to target, which has surprised me because I really wasn't expecting that. No current positive divergence on gas oil as well. If we get a couple more days of negotiation, it may be that we will have a chance to get that positive divergence and a nice looking low here. As it is, this could fall back up, and I think any time, and maybe starting already. In terms of natural gas, we've been seeing a bit of a rally here, and I'm watching to see if this goes higher. Do we have any obvious target above? Yes, I've got a big level here at about 3.29. That's a possible chest neckline, and I'm wondering if that's going to hold. It's not, and also it doesn't actually have to be exactly 3.29. I am wondering if I just pull that line over here. Yeah, I mean that could be, that could be as low as 3.2, possibly even lower. But really, that would be the minimum I'd be looking for it. But I am wondering if we might see a right shoulder form here, pull back, and possibly see a larger rally than this. We are in a seasonally bullish period. Seeing someone. Sorry, I was reading someone talking about natural gas going up, and that was a good sign for oil. But actually, I really don't think it's got anything to do with the straightforward move. I've not seen any correlation so far. All right, let's have a look at those quickly on the hourly charts as well. Hourly RSI, 60-minute buy signal fixed on Brent and on CL and on heating oil and on RBOB, but we only had a week one there and I haven't marked it in. Do these all look kind of like bull flags? Well, yes, they do. I have got some targets below. Since I drew this in tonight, we've actually broken up from this trend line here, and we are breaking up, or we've broken up on CL as well. And we are starting to break up slightly on heating oil and RBOB. I didn't draw a line in there, but I didn't see as clean a trend line or setup as on the rest. But basically, I'm wondering whether these are all about to go back up, and the hourly charts are well up. The hourly signals are well on the way to target. NG, no current divergence. We've still got an IHS which is broken up in the target with the target in the 3.46 area. That still hasn't failed yet. But if it does, then we're probably heading back into the lows at 2.89 area. All right, let's have a look at precious metals and GC. On Sunday, I was talking about these as little bull flags, wondering about a retest of the low and wondering whether we might make the target here. Now, again, if we're seeing the markets, if we're seeing equities go down, oil go up, and bonds go down, then we would expect to see gold go down on the correlations we've seen so far as well. On Sunday, I was talking about the possibility that we were going to reach this double top target in the 43.30 to 43.60 area. 60 area, and the low tonight currently is 43.60, pretty much. Okay, this has now made the target. I'll mark that in tomorrow. But the question is whether it's going to continue down now into the retest of this low here. In terms of SI, I was talking about this being a flag 2. We've now broken down from that and retested the low. On palladium, we haven't broken down yet, and we're not close to retesting the low. On platinum, we broke down, retested the low. These all look like bear flags, and they both deliver like bear flags. Here, we've got the largest bear flag, and that's broken down. We haven't retested the low yet, and I've got possible rising support on the way. Well, actual rising support. So although that's drifted a little, so let's just change that. But I'm thinking this may well be resuming the downtrend as well. Week 60-minute sell signal has now reached the full target. All right, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture charts. And gold. I am wondering, I drew in this trend line area, and well, I can't help noticing we're testing it right now. Which we weren't earlier. This would be channel support, and I'm wondering about support here, but if we don't get it, and I have to say we don't have any positive divergence on the daily RSI, then this can go lower. And I'm wondering if this goes really low, then I'm wondering about a retest of this low here at 1498.73. Bigger picture, this is a bull flag. I'm expecting this in due course to break up, and of course, if we retest the low here, that could give us a really nice double bottom to take us back to the all-time high. Sooner or later, during this crisis, if the crisis continues, when at the moment there's no particular sign that it's ending, if the crisis continues, I'm expecting this to step up and start becoming a flight to safety destination. And but that time has not yet arrived, it seems. Silver, no current divergence. Again, I was wondering about this being a flag, and I'm wondering about a retest of the low here at 60.94. In terms of palladium, this has already retested the low and got a potential double bottom here, and platinum hasn't retested the low yet, but might, and I've got that low at 17.97. So I am wondering, I know I get asked regularly about, when a precious metal is going to start a serious run higher, and I've been demurring and saying, well, it may have a bit more to do. If we get down to these targets here and set up these double bottoms, then, well, that was the that was the move I was thinking that we might see. After that, I think we should be clear to go up. So we shall see. All right, copper, nice looking double top here, and we've seen a bit of a rally, and we're expecting it to head back down again. In terms of GDX, wondering about a retest of this low here at 78.74. No current divergence on the hourly chart. GDXJ, I'm wondering about a retest of this low here at 102.88, and no current positive divergence on the hourly chart. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. All right, KC. KC, we've got look, potential bottoming action here, but this really looks like a bear flag. We reached the possible near miss target on the buy signal. I am wondering about a retest of this low. On SB, we have broken down from the triangle. This could be expanding into a larger flag, or this could just fail back into the lows. Looking at CC, CC, we've still got a head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 3,500 area, and it would need to get back up to 4,500 for that to fail. It might do that, but otherwise, we've still got an open target down in the 3,500 area. No current diversion. CT, sorry, my lines have all disappeared, but this looks like a bull flag forming here. I'm not going to draw any lines because I'm not quite sure why it's not got the lines on, but it's all right. When I restart, this will probably come back. All right, lumber. This looks like a bull flag. I'm leaning towards wheat being a bull flag too, and corn and soy. All of these are fairly dependent on urea. Which is the base of the fertilizer that much of this is grown with, and which has tripled since the Strait of Hormuz was closed. ZL, this looks like a bull flag, and I'm expecting to see a resumption of the uptrend. We've got bigger picture stuff, but I'll talk about that on the bigger picture. Right, lumber. When we're coming to the RTH charts. Lumber, I'm waiting for a significant reversal here. As and when we see it, then I think we likely resume the overall downtrend. On live cattle, I am wondering about a head and shoulder, right shoulder forming here. If that breaks down, that could take us back into these lows. In terms of HE, we have continued down here, and this really isn't a bull flag. Waiting to see what happens here. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. We've made a couple of lower lows since then, but we've still got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, and I'm leaning towards this, heading towards the target here, and at least testing the weekly pivot at 101.63. All right, great. Let's have a look at those on the big picture charts. And right, coffee. Coffee, this is in the balance here. We can see we have potential bottoming action here. We can see a decent rally. We don't really have any positive divergence on the monthly chart. On the daily chart, no divergence either, but this is potential bottoming action. I'm waiting to see if it delivers. If we retest the low here, that could set up a nice little level bottom, which could then get us back over the daily middle band, which is where we've been struggling here. In terms of sugar, bigger picture, I would note that I've still got a target down in the 9.05 area. In terms of the weekly chart, I've still got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed, and we have a nice looking falling wedge here. We're still testing resistance. We still haven't broken up from it yet, but on a break up, I'd be expecting to see a rally. So waiting to see if that happens. No divergence on the daily chart. All right, looking at cocoa. Right, on cocoa, we're seeing a bit of a rally here after a very, very large decline. That rally could go further, but doesn't necessarily need to. Overall, this still looks, we had a tight bear flag. I think we might have a looser bear flag here now. This could be forming something else. I mean, if we got all the way up to 62.50, I'd be wondering about a possible inverted head shoulders forming here. I'm not really seeing much to suggest it's going to go up there, but I would note that the daily RSI 5 sell signal, which was driving the latest move down, has now made target, although we've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, but it's the RSI 5 ones I mainly look at. In terms of cotton, we had a nice looking double bottom here. That has actually broken up and already made the target. We do have a larger potential double bottom here. Or part formed IHS at the 50%, which I have to say is a very good level to have a full reversal pattern, obviously. But I think at the moment, I'm not really thinking of anything as ambitious as getting back into the 2022 high, but I am wondering if it is a possibility. In terms of the daily chart, we had a sell signal. We've not quite reached the possible near miss target on the weak RSI 14 sell signal, although actually by the time that was a full one by the end. The RSI 5 sell signal has already made target. We could see some more decline here, but I am leaning towards more upside after that. Lumber, as I keep talking about on every one, we've got this lovely bearish setup here, double top target in the 352.5 area. We've been forming this bear flag for 3.5 years, and that's got a target down there too. So sooner or later, I'm expecting this bear flag to break down and head off to that target. It is not being a fast process, so waiting to see. At the moment, this looks like a consolidation, which could potentially take it back up into these highs, in which case the initial level top will have failed and we would have potentially a larger one. Although the target couldn't be any lower because that is the previous low. All right, in terms of wheat, we've broken up from the double bottom with a target in the 739 to 742 area. We're seeing a sharp retracement at the moment. I'm leaning towards the upside. We shall see. So we've got still got an old RSI 14 sell signal fixed here on the daily chart. The RSI 14 sell signal has long since made target. We didn't actually have one here. I'm thinking this is likely a bull flag forming. In terms of corn, we've got a nice looking double top here too. That has not yet broken up, but I'm expecting it to. In terms of the daily chart, we've been pulling back, and I think this is likely a bull flag as well. In terms of soybeans, we've got not a double top here. We've got a nice chest right shoulder which has formed, and we've got a decent looking inverted head and shoulders that are on a break up. A sustained break up over 1235 would look for a target in the 1560 area. I think that's got a decent shot. We've been seeing a bit of a pullback here. I'm expecting to see a break up from this soon. In terms of the daily chart, nothing really to see. This looks like a bullish consolidation. All right, great. Let's have a look at crypto. Okay, looking at crypto, starting off with Bitcoin. We've been seeing some weakness tonight, and this is because we've got we've obviously had, well, it looks like the ceasefire is breaking down overnight. Now, here is a possible head and shoulders, which I marked in. And I'll be talking more about this in the pre-market webinar tomorrow. But we've now got this breaking down. So let's see where that goes, shall we? Bear with me a sec. I was drawing this in, and I was saying there was a potential head and shoulders forming here, and that has completed forming, and now it's broken down. And the target wouldn't get us back into the lows, but it would get us to break down from the flag. The lows, of course, in the flag target would be a retest of 60.1k. Sustained break below here. That has a target in the 65,000 area. So we shall see how this goes. But I think if it could be that we're starting to see this crumble properly. Although, obviously, we've had a few false alarms, and who the hell knows what the administration is going to be talking about tomorrow, so we shall see. Sooner or later, I'm expecting these to reach the lows. 64, 67, 65 here would be the target on Solana. That flag has broken down. I was expecting to see a retest of this low here at 81.38. We have gone lower than that, and we could be starting the final move down. I've got that target would be at 67.69. In terms of Ethereum, we're seeing weakness here too. In terms of the flag, that has broken down slightly here and now broken down with more force here. I have to say at this point, normally I'd say there's a pretty good chance we'd head straight down to the target, and that would be at 1746.93. So we shall see whether that happens. But that is a nice clear break of this bear flag, and all of them have broken down except Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, with this head and shoulders, might actually reach it. So we shall see how that develops. All right, great. How fast are things likely to move if we have seen, if basically the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed down for an indefinite period again, and the talks are off and the ceasefire is off? Depends on what happens with the ceasefire being off, but yeah, actually that could turn pretty quickly. There's been a lot of optimism on this 95% done memorandum of understanding, but at the moment, it appears that the Iranians haven't really changed their position from a few days into the war. I think 2 or 3 weeks into it, they actually delivered their demands here. They haven't really changed any of those, but obviously the Americans' aims and demands have been evolving rapidly over that period. It appears that they were close to an agreement last week, and it appears the Americans have now moved and are further away from it, and it may be the ceasefire is going to break down for that reason. In which case, we will see how it goes. But What are the effects likely to be over the summer? Well, on markets, oil prices, well, oil prices are likely to go up, but that wouldn't be good. Equities are likely to go down, bonds are likely to go down. There will be trouble. We shall see. All right, great. So that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday. Cheers.